Hey,
Hey-o.
whoa,
What are we doing?
This
How we
is
doing, man?
two Dynamite Dudes. I am here with the honorary Oos, the honorary DeAngelo, the brother of self-deprecation, Mr. Robert DeFelice. Robert, how are you, man?
I am. I don't know if I'm the brother of self-deprecation or the epitome of self-deprecation, but here I am. I am the honorary Oos of the D'Angelos. I'm doing good, man. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to talk some Grand Slam with you.
Yeah, right. Jeez, what a week. Hey, Nesha, John Howard, good to see you guys. Boy, it's what a time. I mean, you think about like how many hours of wrestling that was on this past week. It's kind of crazy to fathom.
A lot.
Robert, did you watch all of it, or you could be?
I watched. I watched Raw.
Okay.
I actually had to cover all of these shows from Monday through Friday. So yeah, I did actually see all of it, including the 7-8 hours that were on Friday simultaneously. So I had the two monitors. It's crazy.
So were you watching Victory Road?
I was watching Victory Road and SmackDown, and then the end of Victory Road and Rampage.
My God bless you. And you're doing this show.
And I'm doing this show. Dom, listen, I am Mr. Wrestling. I love it to death. I'm a little burned
Mr. Wrestling
out on
5, I think. I think you're Mr. Wrestling 5 at this point.
I can live with Mr. Wrestling 5.
Yeah, there you go. Jeez. Well, okay, well, I mean, since this is an AEW show, obviously, what was your match of the week on AEW?
On AEW, my match of the week, so bell to bell, probably the AEW World Title match with Mox and Danielson. But moment-wise, you had quite a few because you had the Acclaimed, you got Jericho winning the belt, and then you've got Sting and Muta.
Yes.
So I'd say my moment of the week is probably the Acclaimed because Queens was ready for it. And, match of the week being the main event of Dynamite.
I think I'm pretty with you on what the match of the week was Mox versus Danielson. I think that was probably the most well executed match of all of them that was on the program. But yeah, from a moment, there's a lot to take away. I guess I think the big moment though still is Mox becoming a 3-time champ.
Yeah.
How do you make of that? Do you think that's the right move on AEW's part to do that?
It's not the move I would have made. I would have went with Danielson.
I agree.
But I also feel like, listen, Mox has proven that he is Mr. AEW. He has strapped the damn thing to his back every single time. And I think he deserves it. Even though I would have gone with Danielson, I think Mox deserves to be like the Mr. AEW now.
I agree. I said this on Twitter. I think Mox is kind of a good ardent fan ambassador for pro wrestling for AEW. Cody Rhodes kind of was the all around kind of ambassador. I really got that vibe for AEW starting off. And then when he left, there was still kind of that void. And granted, I think there still kind of is a void without Cody there. But I think Mox brings in the hardcore fan base and kind of represents them, while you can have these other players, these major players that are more like mainstream vibe, like an MJF, a Jade Cargill, Thunder Rosa. I've named somebody else too that I was trying to think that would be a good one. Even Kenny Omega.
Yeah, Punk had a mainstream vibe. We don't know what his status is, but he was a mainstream guy.
Yeah, mainstream kind of dude. So I mean, I think you kind of balance the scales out in certain ways, or you're setting up for a good rebuild in a lot of ways, I think. Now, I think Mox is not long for this world to hold the title a third time. I think it's going to go to MJF. What do you think about that?
I think it will.
Yeah.
Maybe Winter's coming, maybe Full Gear.
Mm-hmm.
I do think MJF is going to go full Money in the Bank with it because, honestly, MJF is a prick and it doesn't make any sense for him to be like, I'm telling you in advance that I'll be cashing in my chip at the pay-per-view event. It's like, if he can do it and just stab someone in the back and steal the title, I think that's how he should do it.
I agree. That's MJF's motto, or that's his calling card, basically, to do it underhandedly. So why not? Yeah, I mean, was a lot of big moments in now. I want to say that the Acclaim match with Swerve in Our Glory, I think the All Out match was better executed, but
better by a country mile, as one Jim Ross might say. But I will say that New York popped so big for it, so I think it works out
big time. And yeah, I think how they set up Swerve and Keith Lee, I think, is pretty good. You know, they kind of made them a tag team, and you could kind of relate to them in certain ways, but you also saw cracks in their foundation, and finally this kind of came to a head. And I think moving forward, a feud with them really can put them on a more singles oriented path where they kind of should be in a lot of ways. But as far as anything else with the who do you want to see the Acclaim go up with? It kind of seems like, you know, they're kind of going to be stuck between a rock and a hard place, because you want to keep the Acclaim hot, but you also have FTR, who are the number one contenders by rankings.
So, like, I feel, let's talk about FTR for a minute.
Sure.
Because, like, they had a hot year, and there was a point, like, 2-3 months ago already where they were the hottest thing in the world. Mm-hmm. And while I think that they still will be over whenever they get those belts, there's a good, like, hey, maybe the moment's passing here. Look at the Acclaimed. The Acclaimed blew up out of nowhere because Chicago was just really feeling the scissor gimmick. And, like, look, the Acclaimed, it's momentary. I don't think that's a bad thing, though. You know, Mankind was momentary, but Mick Foley still rocks. Like, there's plenty of momentary champions, plenty of transitional champions, whatever you want to call them. I don't think the Acclaim need to hold it for 6 months. Okay. I think this moment alone was good enough, but I think that they lose it to, I think you lose it to FTR, and then maybe you start doing things with whatever the Bucks are doing. Honestly, I don't know, because we're in a weird spot now, right? Where a minute ago it felt like, oh my God, there's all this hot stuff going on. There's all these people, but like Malachi's gone. Buddy's apparently at the door. According to a new report from Sean Ross Sapp, Buddy might be out the door. We know he's at least taking some time off. That takes House of Black off the table. Lucha Brothers are fine, but they've got, you know, the trios titles.
And they've been there before. They've been
there before. Jurassic Express been there before, but they're not even a team anymore. Mm-hmm. You're in a really weird spot, and then nobody knows what they're doing with the Bucks. So while it feels like, yes, this company can still be thriving, they're not as bountiful as they were like 6 months ago with the tag teams. So now it becomes, all right, when do you get it on FTR? If not right now, who do you have the Acclaim to go up against? The Ass Boys seem like a good step one, but maybe they also lose. Maybe we're playing the long game and Billy Gunn just, you know, helps his children win.
That would be interesting, actually.
Who's to say?
Mm-hmm. That would actually be very interesting if they kind of play to that. Now, Daddy Ass has monster heat with the fans, though. I don't know. Do you want to lose that? Is the risk worth the reward in doing
what is the benefit of either 59 or 60-year-old Billy Gunn having a massive pop for scissoring? Like, he's not Sting. You know, you're not going to get like, okay, cool, we can throw you in an ODQ match and you can beat people with the bat. Billy Gunn looks great, but he was always kind of mid-tier guy as it was. Do you really need to keep him? Oh, we can't lose Billy Gunn's over ability with the audience because that scissor gimmick, brother, that's over. Like, I think he can stand to turn and help his children win tag titles.
I think that's fair. I'm a huge Billy Gunn mark. So, I mean, from 2001, I was probably the only person that loved the one Billy Gunn. I fucking loved the one Billy Gunn and his Full House theme music. The whole package for me was amazing with the one Billy Gunn.
I've always loved Billy Gunn too, but it's also like at the point of his heyday was probably before some people watching this were born. It's scary when you put it that way.
Isn't that wild to think? It's like
it's true, yeah.
2099, like that was like Billy Gunn. They were trying to give him the singles run at that point. It's like fucking 21 years ago. People.
Dante Martin wasn't even alive yet when Billy Gunn was maybe pushing towards the title. You know, like that's what we're working with.
Yeah.
And I don't think we need to keep that act super hot because I'll Scissor Me Daddy Ass is great. It's going to be looked back upon in the same way we look back on a lot of DX stuff where you go, funny at the time, kind of cringe, in 20 years time, I'm sure.
Maybe you might be right. It's hard to say with that kind of stuff, because like a lot of the stuff with DX and everything, I don't necessarily would say it's like dated from a point of like, oh, that seems like old man, like, but it seems dated from the past of like, that's not necessarily politically correct.
Exactly.
Nowadays.
And I think Scissor Me Daddy Ass might fall in that area where like maybe in 20 years we'll be looking at like, God, that was dumb and kind of weird, and why were we just letting people say Scissor Me Daddy Ass?
Or maybe at that point they'll be like, is that all? That's all? That, man, that's pretty tame.
It could be that too.
In that way, who knows?
You never know.
Jeez. But okay, Stephen Chambers here makes a great point too. We mentioned Buddy Matthews potentially being on leave or leaving. We mentioned Malachi Black. What about Miro?
So Miro came in with the weird gimmick.
Yes.
With the best man, I'm playing video games. Mm-hmm. Cool, whatever. And then he turned it on with this Redeemer thing, and it was amazing.
Yes.
And then he kind of just fell off again. I know injuries had a part to do with it. But in all fairness to him, the guy he was feuding with kind of disappeared. So if you can't have Malachi Black, you have to now reset Miro, and maybe you do that by having him go up against Wardlow. But then it becomes the age-old, neither one of these men can afford a loss. So do we put them in the ring together? So AEW, and I don't fault them for this, they're only like 3 years in, but AEW might be in a place where they can't just book gold anymore. Now they're in some tough areas where they need to really think, because I think the honeymoon, the grace period, I think that is long gone.
Yep.
And now it needs to start finding its footing again.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of things that I think just need to be tied together. And Rich Murphy says it here. Miro versus Brody King is a direction you could probably go to. That seems kind of almost organic from having the feud that they've had. But like, it's like, I just cannot fathom for the life of me why Miro has been put on the back burner for so long. Like, when he's over, when he goes out there, the fans fucking pop for him when the horns go off and all that. And, he's got a good fucking gimmick happening. It's just like, you'll want to make time for guys like that. And it's just very head scratching. It wasn't even in the Battle Royal. Yeah,
I think it's because with Miro, they know what they have and that they don't want to lose. They don't want him to lose if they can avoid it. But also, they don't have anything for him, and it's like, we'd rather not put you on TV until we have something for you. Because Tony Khan and that booking team is serving way too many masters right now. You've got so many hot acts that you need to do something with right now that you're not going to get to everybody. But it's unfortunate because you're seeing the backside of that. Like, Buddy gone. Malachi needs to take some time off. Like, what do you do if the strong roster that you were boasting, it starts to dwindle down, and then it's like, uh-oh.
Then you have so many people that you had on air that you've tried to cram in, but the fact of the matter is, if you lose some of those talents, then you have to build those other talents. But you wasted all that time. I don't want to say necessarily wasted, but you utilize all that TV time into promoting everybody when you should be focusing on just a few people. But now you have less of those people, and everybody isn't built up to where they should be at that point that you have left. Just off the top of my head, I'm thinking what would be great, benefit both of them. Because, again, you paint yourself in a corner here, again, with Hangman Page going up against Mox at some point, or whoever the champ might be. What you can do, I know they don't like, weird finishes or anything like that, but what you could do, have Miro come in and kick the head off of Hangman Page, and you get something going strong between those guys. Cultivate a story between those two. And you elevate.
But then the argument becomes that's a very WWE finish, and if it happened in WWE, it'd be great because it's like, okay, we've seen this before. They're off and running in their own land. AEW has established they don't do that, so then you have to try to find storyline reasoning for, okay, why does Miro want to attack Hangman Page? Because with WWE, it's been done to death to the point where it could literally just be like, well, I did it because I just don't like you. You just don't deserve it.
I mean, you could kind of do that because like Miro would this whole like past several weeks and months, he's kind of aired some grievances out on social media and things like that, and said how sick he is of like, you know, hey, Luigi Primo gets on, but what about me, basically? And, you know,
yeah, you know what I thought was interesting since you mentioned him, they didn't do any weird gimmick with Luigi Primo in New York. Because like, why wouldn't you do it in New York? They had I thought that's what they were bringing him on for, just to like take a beating from Ethan Page or something, and you can make a New York pizza reference.
Yeah, I listen, I love Luigi Primo, and I don't think I'm not against him like kind of having some sort of vibe or, you know, appearance or anything like that. But you want to balance the scales out and make sure you're promoting your stars in the same light too. Like you can definitely do something with Luigi Primo here and there. Like
I don't think you can sign him, but I think you can bring him in.
You can bring him in, job him out, but he becomes kind of like a, you know, I'm trying to think of what an old school, almost like this is a weird comparison, but almost like a George South back in the day, where he's like the lovable kind of guy that you like.
Well, yeah, but except for the fact that like George South was just a wrestler. This guy's trying to make pizza and was like, okay, what are we? Well, why are you making pizza? What are you here for? So I think you can only bring him in like in a market where they're known for their pizza. Like, okay, you bring him in Chicago, you bring him in
the New pizza York. Cities.
He's got to go to pizza cities. And for the record, like I think it's fine. I have seen personally people who either don't really gravitate towards the pro wrestling side of things. They all shared Luigi Primo with me, so it works. Even if it's not my cup of tea, I get it completely, because I got a lot of text messages about, oh my God, look at this weird pizza thing. Like, was that
like casual fans texting you?
I'm talking about people who don't. Like in one case, there was at least one person who did not watch wrestling at all. Yeah, it was just like, this is crazy. I know you're the wrestling guy. What is this?
Yes.
And then it's the casuals, the people. If you like Danhausen, you're gonna love the Luigi Primo, because you just think that it's all, you know, fun and games, and in some ways it is.
Some ways it is. It's like it's a variety show. Matt Hardy said that on the podcast last week, or this past Friday. It's a variety show. Wrestling is best when it's at a variety show. Well, what do you think? Grand Slam, should it be 2 days? I think it was fine the way it is. You know.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, I know they did 2 weeks worth of the one they did with the Shark Cage was a Fight for the Fallen.
Yeah,
but with Grand Slam, the gimmick is you've got Arthur Ashe.
Yeah.
So you need to do it in Arthur Ashe.
Mm-hmm. And if you make it like a 2-day event, that's going to be very tough to fill. You can't, I mean, especially just starting off like that. Like, I mean, they got their highest gate, you know, to date with that one. But yeah, I think it's fine the way it is. I don't know. I think there's certain things I would have much less matches than what they had altogether. I think.
Oh yeah, by Rampage, I really felt like 90% of Rampage was like, this didn't really need to be on the show, but I get why I was here.
And it very felt much like it's hard for me to keep track of all the matches. Like, okay, that happened. Oh yeah, I should probably talk about this one and this one. It's just a lot to take in. If I'm having a hard time taking in, imagine what the casual fans having. You know, trying to think.
Right.
About that. So. Well, I do want to, I mean, somebody else that came up, another roster spot to worry about, Saraya, but it's a good one. What's your thoughts on that, Robert?
Massive pop for Saraya. Mm-hmm. Massive pop. Good to see. I attribute that to like genuine surprise, because like Sean Ross Sapp reported right before the show, hey, they were talking in the summer. Mm-hmm. But like maybe those in the arena were already not checking their phones, you know, so like maybe it felt like such a real surprise of like, oh my God, Paige is here. And the only thing I will say is they didn't ever hit anybody. So immediately one report goes, well, she's not cleared yet, and another one goes, yeah, she is. Like, it's so you're playing that game. I would have set that up from the onset. I would have had her hit the page turner. I would have had her, even if they hit a move, forearm somebody, and then people know, okay, cool, she's getting physical, because you know in WWE there's like the literal no touch list to where they can't even get physical with the other person. I think it would have made the pop so much bigger. But I'm glad she's there. She deserves Paige or Saraya deserves a run.
Oh my God.
She was like on the edge of the Divas era and the women's evolution. She ushered that in a lot of ways. And I think she never got to really reap the benefits of that. She didn't get to work evolution. She didn't get to, be a part of a women's Royal Rumble.
A main event, like a massive pay-per-view, right?
Right. Like she did get to do the Charlotte Flair match at Survivor Series. But like that was kind of it. She never got to do, hey, let's have you go out there for 30 minutes and tear it up with Sasha. Let's have you. And I understand why, but I feel like she deserves that now. And she's still so young.
Oh, shit. And the thing is, too, Robert, like even when she was on the shelf and she couldn't do things, like she had they teased us with opportunities of her being like a manager or anything like that. And then they would just pull the rug out from, let's stop it. Okay, we'll put you on backstage. You got a personality, but we'll put you on the Fox Sports 1 channel and things like that. And then you don't see her.
She's only a freshly turned 30 years old.
Exactly. And
if she's cleared, she's good to go for another maybe even 20 years. Like you never know.
Yeah, it's like look at Bryan Danielson, look at like these other people that have come back, Edge. Even if you have to be careful, like that's fine. Steve Austin changed his style after he broke his neck. It's just like, I think she's gonna be in the ring. I think
she's absolutely gonna be in the ring.
I think a lot of people were just, you want to get your tinfoil hats on, and I don't think you really need them. I think she's there to fight. I think that's going to be a big part of it. Again, want to make these moments mean more. You have to hone in on a Saraya, hone in on few talent. Jade Cargill. I think Steven mentioned that. I thought that would be a fucking great thing. If Paige, would you be up for Paige ending or Saraya ending Jade Cargill's streak?
Here's my thing with Jade.
Okay.
I think Athena should have beaten Jade.
I think Athena should have won actually at fucking Arthur Ashe this past Wednesday. I think
you should have had something happen, because what you need to do is with Jade, you're coming to the point in the road where it's like you either need to have her drop the TBS title to go for the world title, or win them both and do the Goldberg she's holding them both up. But at this point, if your game plan is still before she moves up to the world title, she needs to lose her first match and lose the TBS title, you're coming to a time where people are going to start saying, well, she wasn't built up enough, or you gave it to another former WWE girl. What are you really accomplishing? And I feel like if Paige comes in and beats Jade, it's going to be, what are you really accomplishing? You just gave it to the flavor of the month. And I don't know if she can do that to Jade. So I think she is the catalyst for Jamie Hayter splitting from Britt Baker. She fights Baker and then maybe kind of sticks around the world title picture, unless in the meantime, like Ruby beats Jade and then she can fight Ruby for the TBS title or something.
Ruby, they got to do something with. Like it's that's another one that's been pushed to the wayside.
That's another flavor of the month. And then what did you do with her kind of thing?
The reaction she got at was it All Out? All Out last year.
It was All Out last year, yeah.
And then from there, it was just like we're chomping at the bit to see Ruby Soho get her opportunity, and she never really. They didn't give it to her. It's like again another star to use. It's some of this stuff is like I get you want to get all these people on the television, but you have to. Again, it just boils down to what I keep hammering home all the time, and that everybody, Ruby's been forgotten. That shit's true, and it's just frustrating. It's like, I get her in the mix. I think honestly, you could my thought with Athena, excuse me, she could have won. Toni Storm doesn't even necessarily had to gotten pinned in that match. Like, you could have. It was a Britt, Toni, Athena, and then who was the fourth? Help me out here.
Britt, Toni, Athena, and not Jamie, Deeb, Serena.
Deeb. So you could have pinned Deeb, and you could have got, and then Athena wins the title. You get Toni Storm flips the fuck out and turns heel, and like then you have another good heel to go up against like an Athena, and a Ruby Soho when she gets back, and then a Paige. I mean, you got to balance the scales out, I think, a little bit. And also, Robert, I wanted to touch upon this too with Saraya, is that I miss the aspects. Like, I think the reaction Saraya got, it's going to be tough to break away from that. The reaction Saraya got was awesome, but I really miss the aspect of when a wrestler debuts, it's a lot bigger when they actually say something firsthand off. Like, I just keep thinking back to when Jericho debuted in WWE and how big that felt because he got a chance to talk to The Rock.
I'm surprised knowing that she has been largely in the WWE system for her whole career. Mm-hmm. And definitely in the WWE system for as long as most people have been following her, that they didn't give her 5 minutes of talking time right away.
Right away. I don't care.
Because, I know she's going to do it on Wednesday, and she's going to get to do the whole, and I'm here because AEW is where we wrestle, and guess what? I'm going to wrestle, and now this is my house. And then Baker interrupts her, and they'll do the whole gimmick. I know where you're going, but I would have had her either punch someone or grab a mic at least and go, I'm back and I'm wrestling.
Yeah, something.
You did it with Brian. Well, granted, it was, for the live crowd first, and then they played it back on television. You did it with Punk. Punk's debut was perfect.
Amazing. They didn't do it with Cole, though, right? They didn't do it with Cole.
No, they didn't do it Cole. They just, everybody knew what was coming, and then they just let him open the show and talk for 10 minutes. And I think you need that because, Claudio didn't get that.
Yep.
You need to be able to establish, hey, this is why I'm here. This is what I want. And now let's go.
I just don't understand. It's just become the convention to have them debut. Hey, they're here. And then that's it. Okay. We'll get to hear from them next time, though. But they're here.
Yeah.
I would understand if they can't talk, but a lot of these people can talk. That's why you're bringing them in, and that's why they're stars. So I don't know. I think it felt big. Don't get me wrong, it did, but I think it could have been even bigger if you did it.
I agree.
Let me see what else. Oh, what do you think about the whole Eddie, Sammy Guevara, all that kind of getting resolved?
I thought that was perfect. I agree. If you're going to start the match, I knew as soon as you got the microphone, I knew he's going to say, oh, by the way, you're a fat piece of shit. I just knew that's where they're going because that was the line. And it's like, perfect, cool. Then Eddie Kingston beats the shit out of him. Great. And then he loses because he refuses to let go of the hold. My only issue with that is, in a kayfabe context, hey, Tony, why didn't you start this rules thing when you had your All-Atlantic champion hit a guy in the head with a hammer? Why didn't you go, hey, this is the part where you start tightening up the rules. You can argue from a kayfabe context that's the, impotence for that or whatever. I don't care. Look, I think this is good. I think Eddie Kingston needs to start winning, though. I think people are getting real sick of Eddie losing. I think Eddie's becoming that, he's a lovable character. I don't want to call him a lovable loser because, people love him.
Mm-hmm.
But he needs to start winning something. He needs to definitively win something. He needs to say, you know what? I've overcome. I've hit new mountaintops in my life. I'm not a guy who's going to come up short anymore and then stop coming up short and then hold the TNT title for 4 months or whatever. And then, do whatever's next for him.
Yeah.
But this thing where he just loses, because I'm sure he probably feels like he can take it. It's not all about winning and losing. It's about helping the next generation, whatever, yada, yada. But come on. You need to win because people are behind you.
Yeah, people the reaction he got in New York was just awesome too. And it's just, you want to make the most of those. And Eddie's friend of the show is fantastic at doing that and connecting with the crowd. That's why people like him so much. He is like the blue collar pro wrestler that people really he's
especially in that market too,
in a lot of ways. Yeah, and especially in that market where he's just
he is Eddie Kingston is as New York as it gets. He feels very I'm not a gimmick. Santana and Ortiz, they aren't gimmicks, but they are turned up to 11. Eddie Kingston, I genuinely believe, is that on all the time, and there's just a very raw authenticity to him, and I want him to start winning things.
Honestly, and that whole, we talked about what were moments and matches of the whole week. When he came out, it's just like he immediately draws me in, like, because it's just like he's gonna walk in there and like ready to kick some ass immediately. It's just like he doesn't do pomp and circumstance shit. He comes out and fucking beats ass. That's like, hey, that's why we like pro wrestling in a lot of ways. Is that kind of
right?
Stuff. So, yeah, it's like, there's a lot of promising aspects, but there's a lot that they have on the plate that they have to sort through and piece this puzzle together, because there's a lot of pieces to it, and you want to make this like 1,000 piece puzzle into like a 250 piece puzzle. It's just like, figure it out is the tough thing. But okay, another aspect we got to talk about was how everything all started off, and that's with Jericho becoming the ROH World Champion.
Here's what I love about that. Mm-hmm. I couldn't have seen that coming a mile away. I feel dumb having not seen it coming, because obviously if you're building a new promotion that you want to get on TV, maybe put the belt on Jericho. But the idea of Jericho Ring of Honor World Champion didn't even compute to the point where I thought it was a possibility.
No,
I think that's super rad. Like, I'm here for it. I feel bad for Claudio, because his run is forever going to be encompassed in this like weird AEW ROH merger kind of era. Mm-hmm. But Jericho, this just makes sense. And now I'm looking at it as he needs an opponent for Final Battle. I would put him in there with either Samoa Joe.
Unify those titles, I would say.
Well, yeah, because Ring of Honor doesn't have TV. How do you have a TV champion?
How do you have a TV title with no TV?
That's really getting to me. But you need to do that, because you haven't done Jericho versus Joe ever. Or you do, he loses the title at Final Battle to Bryan Danielson. And I think that's a hell of a way to go. And then you eventually move Garcia over as the face of ROH once you hit TV. But I don't think you should do Garcia until you secure in a TV position, because right now you need to put on the biggest matches possible to get to the TV position.
I think that's a good move, though. Jericho and Danielson, if you switch it over to that. And, if you even make, I either way, I would think you would have to have Danielson win that title back, because he just lost to Mox, and he's like lost title matches. So he needs to win a title match here.
And he can do it with I can see him not wanting to be the face of AEW, but he is the spirit of Ring of Honor,
Yeah. That just says Jericho shouldn't have won the ROH title. It wasn't needed. I think to the point, I see kind of like I would like Claudio to go on a longer run, but I also see the point of, hey, if you're trying to make this into an actual TV product, I think Jericho is who you want. Maybe somebody like that is who you want on holding that belt that people can connect with already. But
what do you think Ring of Honor lands?
What was that?
Where do you think Ring of Honor lands as far as TV?
I'm gonna say, I'm trying to. It's gonna either be TBS or TNT, obviously. I think
so. When is Warner Brothers Discovery supposed to actually begin merging their content? Because I know that a part of that is definitively they want a live component. And that is where I think Ring of Honor does not get on TV at all. I think they probably get on a live platform for HBO Max or whatever the new name's going to be.
Now, what would behoove them more, though? Would it be to move Rampage to that live streaming, like,
Rampage, I think, stays put.
You think Rampage stays put? Would you plug ROH in there? What would you do if you had the control?
See, I wouldn't plug ROH in there, because then you feel, to your AEW fans, you feel like, hey, you're taking away our Rampage. And if you're not going to give people... Because listen, there are some people who are very like, I don't want to see anything if it's not the Elite. So you're taking it away from that fans. And then you're making it feel like, Ring of Honor is even more of a distraction. It's even more of a hindrance. I think you need to separate the entities completely, and you do that by having Ring of Honor on its own time slot, in its own thing, and you don't do anything to hinder any of the AEW shows.
Okay. Yeah, I think Nesha makes a cool point. Saturday nights, but I always consider college football's on, and that's going to be a big takeaway from things. But I mean, that would be cool if you even had it like 6 p.m. or something like it.
Listen, I think Cody Rhodes probably when they were in the meetings, I'm sure, and Tony mentioned Warner, Cody probably said, "Hey, can we do 6:05 on Saturday?" And they never did it. So there's got to be a reason why.
There's got to be. That's a fair point. It's a fair point. I'm sure Cody did pitch that. Let's do 6:05 Saturdays, huh? How about it? Yeah. I don't know. It's yes.
I think I'm gonna look up when they're actually supposed to merge.
Okay,
but I think once they merge,
but I don't know.
That's when you're gonna see the actual. So by summer of next year, there's supposed to be a new streaming platform that will merge everything. So I'm gonna put that as my marker for when Ring of Honor will hit the airwaves.
My concern is okay, yeah, you'll have Jericho as your champ, but what is the name cachet and name value to of ROH to the casual, really non-wrestling fan? There's
on a platform like that, you mean? On a platform
on
that's
any
just
platform
streaming
at this juncture, whether you're putting it on network television or you're putting it on a streaming, service. I think it's a non. I mean, it's a brand that ardent fans are familiar with, the hardcore fans. But if you're putting it in, it's that doesn't. Okay, why am I tuning into this? Okay, if Jericho's the champ, I think they have to do a lot of legwork to define what
they're going to have to. But I also think we live in such a choose your own media world that it's not going to matter. It's going to be, oh, and for you wrestling fans, we have this. And the wrestling fans will go, okay, I have this. But the rest of the people will be watching, Harley Quinn, whatever they had on Discovery Plus. I think it's very choose your own entertainment.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just everything's kind of fractured out and hey, people, it's a la carte, what you kind of what's your preference kind of deal. I can get that. And I just think it would be cool. It would be good if they put it on a good, an HBO Max and had it on there, for a good, as a prominent thing, a live thing that you can tune into that they don't typically have on there.
I mean, look, I want them to get a live thing anyway, because I think as good as the AEW pay-per-views are, I think that price tag's a little steep in 2022.
Little steep.
It's an issue.
And I think I know people like the wrestling, but good Lord, 4.5 hours is a long ass time to watch a pro wrestling product.
Yeah, amen to that.
What else did I want to cover? Oh, just the whole Battle Royal Hangman Page.
I didn't like it. I didn't like anything about it. The Battle Royal felt like a mess. Felt like a huge mess. I think you could have gotten more out of Hangman cutting a meaningful promo to get the match with Mox. But I thought the Battle Royal was a mess. So I didn't think it was. I've seen worse Battle Royals, and I kind of liked some of the storytelling elements that they provided into it. I always hate I don't think they did it as much as they typically do, but there was still a lot of it. It's just so fucking stupid when the wrestler celebrates after he throws somebody out, and then, oh, that's cute to throw him out. It's one of the oldest, stupidest parts of the whole of pro wrestling. I can't suspend my disbelief with that kind of stuff. It just, I don't know. I like it. There's some tropes that I like. I think I'm okay with it as long as the right guy does it. I'm okay with that kind of trope. Yeah, I know in AEW before, though, I've seen faces do it, and I'm like, why the fuck would you do that? Yeah. Focus. My thing is, with this particular Battle Royal, Hangman gets an entrance, and then 25 guys jump him from behind, and the other 25 guys come out to save him, and you go, golly, who's gonna win? You think it's the guy who got an entrance?
Yeah.
Like that's my thing. I thought it was too much, and that's like I said how I feel about Rampage as a whole. It was too like, okay, we're cramming stuff onto this show, and I think Paige could have done more on the microphone to set up a match with Mox.
I agree. Paige is somebody that, we've seen wrestle and he does a good job at it, but he's somebody that needs to kind of be rebuilt and kind of like reestablished. It could of things that happened on air and things that didn't happen on air. Like it's just he's somebody that if you want to continue to build it, and I want to say too, I think he got to show some personality in that battle royal, but I also think like it. And let me ask you this too: is it a concern you have Mox being the world champion right now, something we've seen before, and then you have Hangman Page winning and being in the world title picture right again? Is that
concerning because it's too much of the same?
Too much of the same happening.
Yeah. So right now, right at this moment, I think you need familiarity, you need dependency. Mm-hmm. And that's where I think Mox comes in because he's dependent.
Yeah. Okay.
With Paige is a weird guy, right? Because he's like the catalyst of some of the nonsense behind the scenes, but also he happens to be the one guy that wasn't physically involved with the blow up, and the fans still love him, and he's still a very dependable name. Maybe they are the guys you need at this moment, but I think after this, you need to start plugging in some new names. Let Mox and Hanger tear it down, and I'm sure they will. It's like if I had to compare this to someone, maybe this is AEW's at this point, Sting and Luger. Like,
I think it's not a bad
like
comparison.
They are, AEW through and through. And even though when Paige was on top, there were other things that seemed more important, I think this could be his chance to go, no, see, I was right from day one. I said back in May that we had to save the title from someone, because at this point, too, you got to lay into it. You have to address it. Everybody knows what happened.
Yeah.
He could say that, and he could say, hey, thanks for doing that, but now I'm ready to take my belt back. Because, by the way, I am one of the longest reigning champions, if not I don't know if he's the longest reigning, but he might be.
Hangman?
Yeah.
No.
How long did Mox hold it the first time? Oh, that's right. Kenny had it for a year. Never mind. Yeah. Okay, but like even still, he can say, I defended it against a bunch of different people and a bunch of different match types. I was consistency for this belt. You just happen to be the guy who finds it and picks it up every time someone else drops the ball.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think you can have a lot of fun with it. I'm interested to see where they go with it. I just didn't like the battle royal to get us there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I like that AEW initially introduced, like tournaments, and like I'm kind of an old, long-time sucker for battle royals. But yeah, I like when you overdo them, they don't seem as important. It's just like to have a tournament for everything. Pick like 4 people and then have a fatal an elimination 4-way, or pick the 2 top ranked people and have them fight it out instead in a match. Change it up a little bit. Like overall I think it was a pretty entertaining week for AEW, but it was just a lot. Yeah,
I mean, like, and you can look at like, okay, we didn't touch on Wardlow, but do we really need to touch on Wardlow? I've said everything I need to say about Samoa Joe. He's the Ring of Honor champion, TV champion. They don't have TV. He has barely been around. He feels like another guy who's, I know he's filming Twisted Metal and, awesome for him for that. But like, I want Joe on top while he can still go.
Yes.
It's like, if 100%. He can do anything, let's utilize this man. Wardlow has completely fallen off the face of the earth for me ever since he won the TNT title. And I think they need to get back on the right track with him. I'm confident that they will, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if they have to do it with one another. Hey, let Joe bring another level of intensity out of Wardlow. Let Wardlow get a big win by beating Joe.
I'm with you though on Joe. Like, I think they really need to put him in a more prominent picture. Like, get him up top as soon as you fucking can. Like, because
He's fought Jay Lethal for the entire year, basically.
Yeah, and I can barely remember moments where he's talked. Like, and Joe can cut a promo. It's just
he's one of the best in the world at that. I mean, he could have, if he was involved in the title picture, he could have run down everybody that was in the tournament. He could run down what happened at the pay-per-view. Yes. Like Joe is great on the mic, and I'm surprised that they're just dropping. I would say dropping the ball because we don't know the situation behind the scenes for Joe. But if he can work, I'm of the opinion that you put him in the ring as much as possible.
Much as he should be there, he should be on television as much as Mox, as much as Danielson, like, you know, as much as any top guy that you have there. What do you think? What'd you think about how everything closed out with the lights out match?
Great match. Damn shame that everybody left the arena for it.
Yeah.
You know, I think those men deserve a hell of an audience. Powerhouse Hobbs is like, he's like the hoss that any promoter from any era would be salivating over. Ricky Starks is the showman that any promoter from any era would be salivating over. They're two guys that you need to build around.
100%. And like, that's a guy you can put right there. Like you were talking about it earlier, is like, it's time to, like, you know, change the sheets, so to speak. And Starks, you put up there in the title picture and everything like that. It's a dancing around where it's like, okay, let's, the AEW's kind of created their own, a lot of the ways, like they're even Stevens bookings, you know, where, hey, we can't damage this guy by taking a loss, or can't damage this girl by taking a loss. Yeah, people have to take losses, and people have to, you know, somebody has to get hit with it, you know. And I think what you do is you put your stars to be able to do some of that stuff. Like, you know, somebody that's been on a winning streak, make them lose to like a Starks, or, have people, but it's a tough thing to do. But yeah, I mean, it's just part of wrestling. Wins and losses should matter. And
yes,
it's you got to make them matter. But yeah, that main event was great. And like, two different types of guys that work well together, and, you know, that had a feud going that I wanted to see more of throughout the time, to get more, you know, airtime, to kind of cultivate the story and everything like that. But it was good. And like, I think Stark should be in the title picture right away, and Hobbs should be there too in some form or fashion, where it's, you know,
TNT title. I think he's a big enough of a hoss that he can beat Wardlow believably.
You know what?
Because nobody's beaten Wardlow believably, because people have beaten Wardlow, but Jericho scraped by, you know. Punk literally got his ass handed to him and scraped by. He did the Bret Hart Diesel, you know, you pick me up, I'm limp, I'll roll you up. Like, Powerhouse Hobbs can spinebuster him like 2 times, and it's, oh, okay, Wardlow lost.
Yeah.
I think that's...
I don't think if you do it in the right manner, it's not going to hurt Wardlow. And I think, to your point, it redirects Wardlow, and I think, you know, puts him more in a different position of like, okay, he lost, what's next for him? And
if you do it in the right way, the thing is, losses shouldn't mean a downgrade for anybody. People have to lose at some point. You have to lose. And I think Hobbs would be a great name to beat Wardlow.
Yeah, I agree. I think you nailed it, Robert. I mean, we got to make you the booker. We got to make Steven Chambers the booker. Marcus.
That's right. That's right. I'd gladly take that TK money.
Take the TK. You are a mercenary. You're like Butcher and Blade.
Yeah, very much like Butcher and Blade. I'll take that comparison.
There you go. All right, we'll end it with this: the ratings. So they had a big number, you know, the week before, and then it kind of dropped a little bit. It stayed above 1 million, but it didn't hit as big as the last time. What do you think? Does that indicate anything to you?
They're showing nice consistency above 1 million. When they start dipping below that, if they start consistently dipping below that, then I'll be concerned. But right now, I think the million was good. Was it a fall from last week? Yes. But I think that AEW needs another hot angle to get people like, okay, you're tuning in to see the follow-up of this. And then I think as long as you're above 1 million, you're doing great.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
TV, we can go on and on about the state of TV in 2022. But as long as you can consistently stay above 1 million and you're constantly the number one on cable, you're doing fine.
Yeah, if you're up in that position and everything like that, and from what the accounts seem like, they seem to be in very good standing with the Discovery, Warner, whatever. So it's as they should be. So yeah, I think everything is copacetic there. But I think yeah, you wanna make it bigger. You definitely want to try to make it bigger, as big as you can. And so Blue Chew plug. I do not promote them, but I'm not being paid by them. But why not throw it in there?
You know, I mean, sometimes you just gotta have some nice stiff action on Wednesday and Friday nights.
Hard hitting,
stiff action.
Pulsating. I want it pulsating like throughout the whole evening. All right. Hey, Robert, you got anything you want to plug?
I don't have anything as throbbing as that news. But, you know, if you do want to follow me, you can check me out everywhere at Dude Felice. I always do appreciate any support whatsoever. It means the world to me. If you want to learn more about me personally, you can check out my interviews with Dom Smith on the Wobbling About and Rockin' Out podcast. Check out my interview with Tom Talks Rubbish. We get into the disability awareness, the cerebral palsy aspects of my life. There's also a panel on the Gimme a Whole Yeah channel, so you can check that out as well. Check out Fightful, of course. Fightful Select. Sean Ross Sapp does work his ass off, giving everybody all the scoops.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, just keep supporting WrestleZone. Keep supporting wrestling. Yeah, like Eric Hedstrom says here, just enjoy wrestling, man. That's what we do. That's why we're here. I also hope I have a dinner plate at the Thanksgiving table in the DeAngelo house.
That's right. Hey, you're the honorary DeAngelo. We'll set you aside a table.
I'll just keep showing up. I'll knock on your door.
Robert, what the fuck are you doing here? Come on in. Happy
that's right. Thank you.
Yeah. No, hey, it's been a good one. This was episode 99 of Two Dynamite Dudes.
99. That is amazing. 100 weeks of this.
100 weeks of this going on. And there's been some breaks in between, so it's been a little longer, but this would be the 100th episode coming up. Holy crap. Well, I mean, if you want to follow me, obviously it's Dominic at Dominic DeAngelo. Check out what I do at Wrestling Inc. You can check out what I do at adfreeshows.com. I do In Depth with Tom DeShanes, where I talk to the Harvard scholar about like major storylines. We got one with brothers coming up. Speaking of brothers, we got the sibling rivalry coming up.
Owen and Brett.
Yeah, Owen and Brett, Taker and Kane, just like me and you, Robert. We're
that's right. We are. That's right. We're brothers in that way. Yes.
The brothers of self-deprecation.
That's right. That's right.
That's right. So check that out. But WrestleZone, it's always cooking up here on WrestleZone. You got to check it out. Colin Tessier, Bill Pritchard, nailing it, just rocking it over here. It's good stuff, guys. Nesha, who else we got on here? Stephen Chambers, John Howard, Stephen Chambers, everybody. They can't thank you enough for being a part of this. Rich Murphy pops in for a little bit. He makes a little cameo. Good stuff. What a pleasant turnout too. I did not expect it because I just literally promoted this like 20 minutes before. So,
I mean, that's what happens. You advertised me as your sibling, and then things go up.
We're gonna book you more and more just as the brother. Like it's just gonna happen. I'm just gonna start calling you it. You might have to change your Twitter handle. I'll give you a heads up.
Yeah, I'm here for it, Dom.
All right. It's
always a pleasure working with you. I get a kick out of you, man. You're the man doing everything you do, and I'm always happy to be here.
Well, thanks. Thank you, Robert. You're the man. I like how you do it for the money, but you also do it. I know deep down in your heart, you do it for the love. You do. All right, guys. Money. We'll see you next week here on Two Dynamite Dudes. All right. Take care of yourselves and each other. Like Jerry Springer says.